Ispirazzjoni u esperimenti ma' Angel Gallia.
Nilqakom għal programm ieħor Ispirazzjoni u Esperimenti u l-mistidna tal-lum għandi ammirazzjoni kbira lejhom huma minn Men Against Violence għandna l-James Buhagiar u Aleksandar Dimitrijević u se nitkellmu dwar dak kollu li għandu x'jaqsam mal-irġiel, ma' kontra l-vjolenza u għal aktar ugwaljanza. Thank you for accepting this invitation. Ħankun qed naqleb bejn il-Malti u l-Ingliż peress li Aleksandar iktar jħossukom titkellem bl-Ingliż. Ma jimpurtax, it's what you're talking about. That's more important than which language we use. Mhux hekk? The message is more important.
Correct.
Ħanibda mill-ewwel bid-dunkwe. So meta in-nies jgħidu xi tfisser li tkun raġel fid-dinja tal-lum, naraw ħafna affarijiet fuq il-medja soċjali li żgħażagħ qed jaraw qudiemhom ta' irġiel li forsi aħna mhux l-istampa li nixtiequ naraw ir-raġel jidher hemm barra. Kif tiddefinixxuh raġel fid-dinja tal-lum u kif qed idea tiżviluppa din l-idea fis-soċjetà tal-lum aw Malta speċjalment?
Grazzi tal-istedina.
L-inqas ħaġa.
Importanti għalina li ta' dan l-ispazju.
Mhux hekk?
Hija mistoqsija li tmur mill-ewwel għad-dunkwe. Iva, u mistaqsek faċli biex tirrispondi, inħoss personalment li m'hemmx mod dritt jew linjari wieħed kif tirrispondi, però inħoss li huwa żmien tant importanti li qiegħda tiġi din il-mistoqsija.
Ekku.
Ġifieri inħoss li għal ħafna żmien qisu anke dawk li ġew qabilna, l-ġenerazzjonijiet kollha li ġew qabilna, kważi qas kienu jsaqsuha din il-mistoqsija.
Mhux hekk raġel huwa dak li jipprovdi, li huwa f'saħħtu li qatt ma jibki.
Kien dak il-benchmark u
dak kollha l-istess.
U mbagħad qisu tant ġraw affarijiet li nispera anke nitkellmu fuqhom f'dan il-programm.
Iva. Inwedkom intikom żewġ programmi. Daqshekk nemmen f'da suġġett. Iva.
Iżu tant ġraw affarijiet f'dal-aħħar snin, deċeni, jien nemmen li l-om jiġru minn wara t-tieni gwerra dinjija baqgħu ħafna movimenti.
Ekku, 80 sena tagħha.
Bil-mod ġifieri. Illi issa wasalna f'punt fejn hemm ħafna mistoqsijiet. Allura dak li jagħmlek raġel illum il-ġurnata żgur mhuwiex dak li kien jagħmlek raġel fi żmien lejn l-aħħar gwerra immaġina biex impoġġuha f'kuntest.
Ekku.
Ara kemm inbidlu affarijiet.
Kemm saru ħsibijiet. Għalhekk għandna l-mistoqsijiet.
U llum il-ġurnata tistaqsija ħafna iktar minn qatt. Qabel għax waħda mir-risposti, ma ħoss li hemm risposta waħda mir-risposta hija li r-raġel tal-lum il-ġurnata forsi jaf iħossu xi ftit imħawwad u mitluf meta jiġi biex jirrispondi għal dik il-mistoqsija.
Ta' żgur, għax aħna qed nisfidaw dak li kien status quo, dak li ma qatt ma iddubitajnieh.
Eżatt.
Allura bad intilefu.
Illum bejn anke taċċetta ir-rwol ġdid pereżempju li għandha l-mara fis-soċjetà tagħna. Bejn anke tara x'inhu isu mistenni minnek, anke maħniex dejjem ċerti. Nitkellem ma' rġiedin pereżempju u jgħiduli affarijiet bħal imma jiena llum il-ġurnata ma nafx kif ħanavviċina mara. Għaliex jekk ngħidilha hekk naf niġi interpretat li għamtu.
U għandu raġun ukoll.
Eżatt,
għandu raġun.
So, dajbli nagħmlu dal-mistoqsijiet. Però tistennix risposta linjari waħda.
Le, sempliċi le, imma nibdew nħarsu lejn tipi ta' risposti naħseb iva. Ħandur daqsxejn fuq Aleksandar. What do you think about when we're saying what makes a man nowadays?
This is actually the question of what does it mean to be a man historically was never examined. And when I say that, what I mean is that even if you look our Western, philosophy, history, mythology, the role of man is somehow assumed in a sense that either he's made an image of God or it's only natural that man is the leader, head of the family, defined by job and his work and, these kind of things. And what happened actually that for many, many thousands of years, literally, that was assumed.
Yes.
And you see it in our societies, and that's that thing that we call patriarchal structure, the how the family is structured, who does what in the family, what are the roles, very defined. What is expected from one to the other, what happens if you don't fall into the box of, man box or a woman box.
Yes.
But what happened is that, women at some point, and for a long time, but in an organized manner. Sometimes, let's say, early 1800s, 1850s, started actually questioning their own role in the society and started creating this movement for emancipation of women. And since then, over the last 200 years or so, what we have is we are seeing women breaking these barriers that were traditionally imposed on them, starting with the right to vote, starting with, continuing with the right to work, to be paid the same like men, to have,
rights to education.
Right to education,
their bank account.
Different bank, the 70s, even not right to a bank account, and basically right to be treated equally, and whilst women, this is when we talk about current or today's problem of men, whilst women have like 200 years now on working on themselves, trying to figure out their position in the society, trying to figure out who they are or what they want to be, which movement for emancipation of women, feminism.
That is another struggle. Going on.
That is still going on and still not, and with a lot of successes and a lot of steps back and backlash and things like that. Women have been working on it. They've been trying to, but now men, there was no equivalence on a side of
thinking
and introspection and trying to figure out women are changing and women are leading and they're going their way. So we are now, manhood is now sort of in a position of, they are men who are sticking to their guns and sort of,
not changing.
And they are seeing this intrusion of women into men, usually reserved for men places, as an intrusion, and they see it as a sort of loss or attack on them. On the other hand, the other option is men could actually try to, have some introspection, see what is happening and see what is good for them, because the way patriarchy damages and hurtful for women, there are many other ways, different ways, that is damaging and
for men. Everybody suffers. Everybody suffers.
So the man, what does it? So to answer the original question, what does it mean to be a man nowadays? It's in a state of flux.
Yes, we're still not sure.
Exactly, and there is a movement of men that James and I NGO belongs to, which is a movement which is sort of dedicated to engaging men in looking what performing that introspection and looking into who we are and what was wrong before and what can we do to change it, to make lives better, not only in terms of we talk about prevention of violence and and things like that, but good for men themselves too, and by default good for everybody else.
Of course.
So we are in that state of flux where what does it mean to be a man is being changed, is being in the state of flux is the best word. It's changing, it's realizing that it's multifaceted, that there are many issues that are affecting men and that needs dealing with the same way and we need a push from men for more of that.
Yes, and that's why you're here.
U ma nħossi li dana qed jiġri ġo vakum, da qed jiġri anka għal-fatt li qed ngħixu fis-sena 2026 u l-influx pereżempju ta' teknoloġija.
Mhux hekk.
Qed taffettwa. Ħafna waħda qed naffaċċjaw sitwazzjonijiet fejn ir-raġel qed jitlef power illi kellu għal eluf ta' snin.
Ekku.
Jekkux power ta' saħħa, jew tal-breadwinner, per eżempju, li issa vera qiegħda taqa' qabel kienet f'daw iż-żminijiet niġġieldu għall-istess għall-ugwaljanza, imissa qed taqa' f'ħoġor ir-raġel. Il-nisma' illum il-ġurnata il-mara mhux tal-li taf tkun il-breadwinner, tal-li taf tkun il-manager u taf tkun ħafna iktar affarijiet minn just il-breadwinner jew li tkun ekwivalenti daqsi. Anke mħabba it-teknoloġija tbiddel ħafna affarijiet. Inħoss li bħala bniedem li qed ngħix f'dan iż-żmien, illum il-ġurnata anke xi tfisser tkun bniedem ħad tkun challenging ta' sfida.
Bl-intelligenza artifiċjali nibdew ngħidu l-bniedem fejn hu postu issa.
Immaġina ir-raġel fejn iħossu f'dan il-kunċett.
Ekku, wasalna żmien fejn din naħsbu fuqha.
Jien ngħidlek ara li meta nitkellem hemm barra, ġeżibi waħda mill-affarijiet fuq dan id-diskors hija ir-raġel fir-rwol tal-protector, sewa jipproteġi l-familja, jipproteġi l-mara. Dan għallum il-ġurnata meta l-mara saret daqshekk indipendenti, tista' tkun iktar indipendenti mir-raġel hija, sewa qed tħalli dik it-toqba.
Tħalli mhux toqba biss, konfużjoni. Fej qabel kien ċertezza.
But this is it's not I mean, you know, if you get stuck online in certain comments and how some men perceive this, they feel it as a sort of a loss of what is rightfully theirs.
I see.
You know, and this is for some men, not all men.
No, of course
you
not.
know.
No, we have two men here.
They are very loud. These, you know,
yes.
but this is the thing. It's not a cake, you know. If we are talking about rights are not a cake.
Not
you know,
at all.
if everybody has right, that doesn't mean there's less for you. You still have yours.
Exactly.
The insecurity is coming, and you hear this expression, the epidemic of loneliness of men, or something like that. It's not. It's just. It's as James rightfully said, you know, it's not anymore that man is a provider, breadwinner, and that these kind of jobs or roles are guaranteed. You know,
Yes.
as you know, women moved on, women worked hard on it, and it's up to men now to, you know,
Sit down and think.
Sit down and think a little bit.
Yes.
It's because whilst before, very often, and you mentioned bank accounts, and you know, women depended on men for everything. You know, for livelihood, for security,
Being
for
allowed
housing.
to live.
Yes.
Being allowed to live.
You know, women were basically defined by their relationship to
With men.
And it's not like that anymore.
Yes.
So women do not need,
Yes.
generally speaking, women
Yes.
do not need men anymore. So now,
very generally speaking.
very generally speaking, very generally, okay.
Yes, of course.
So you have now situations with women who have a job, maybe can afford to get a house on their own, you know, and they're perfectly happy. So now men, in order to, you know, to find a partner for some women and for some men will have to basically provide that extra benefit.
Yes.
Something that is beneficial beyond, you know, you have to be with me because otherwise you don't have a bank account, you have a house, you don't have where to live, you don't have where to eat. So now there is that little extra, which goes beyond I have money, I have work, I have housing, or which has been traditional, and that has been shaking. So when that ground is moved, so what does it mean? Women will, as the time passing by, they will expect more. So they don't want just a provider because they can provide for themselves.
Yes.
They don't, they don't need housing and whatever because they can do that for themselves. So what is the benefit of having you in my life?
Amazing.
Men are not competing with other men for women attention.
No.
Men are competing. Again, it's a whatever word.
We're just using that word.
Yeah. Men are for attention of women. The difference is that women can make a choice, sort of. Am I better off being alone, or am I better off with being with this guy?
Person.
So women nowadays will say, no, this is not worth the hustle.
I'll be
because women move that way, and it's up to men to catch up.
Yes, and that is such wisdom coming from men because it is not an easy journey. Ħankompli bil-mistoqsija li jmiss. Għax isna, ma tant għandna xi ngħidu. Xi rġiel qed jinvolvu ruhom b'mod attiv għall-ugwaljanza u kontra l-vjolenza kif qed tagħmlu intom Men Against Violence. Fil-waqt li oħrajn kif semmejna waħlin fuq ħsibijiet antikwati u iktar tradizzjonali. X'taħseb li jgħin lil xi rġiel jikbru u jfittxu u jimirħu u l-oħrajn jibqgħu jishomhom waħlin?
L-ewwel ħaġa tiġi f'moħħi li tkompli ma dak li qal Alex. Alex qal li rġiel imisshom il-tallum il-ġurnata jibdew jaħsbu to think sewa. Jiena naħseb li apparti minn hekk hemm xejna iktar ukoll wasalna fil-mument illi you accept. You accept illi pereżempju taċċetta illi mara għandha aċċess għall-informazzjoni daqshekk.
Ekku.
U dana ġej fi żmien fej, per eżempju, ħafna mis-soċjetajiet, inkluż Malta, għadna b'mezzo ċajta u le, għax il-mara ma tafx is-suq, u r-raġel suq aħjar. U fuq dawn ikun hemm ħafna affarijiet mibnijin fuq dawn is-sibijiet. U dawn għadhom intergenerational, għadhom jiġu
Mela
moddin.
jirtirtu.
Issa immaġina, sewa, min għadu imwaħħal kultant għax kważi anka għax ma jri, mux għax ma jriġ, għax ma jistax, mħabba li fejtila. Per eżempju, nati diskursati fl-iskejjel u għek, u nibda nejti ma kif xaħat għadu daqseg zaħir. Tiġi l-qoddi minn mentalita daqseg antika, per eżempju. Għax għat jismaħħa u għek.
Muxek?
U ma tanċi kun forsi lest illi jaċċetta, jaħseb iktar, jaċċetta il-isma. L-affarijiet imxew ħafna iktar. Ġi differenza edha mek, basikament. Il-isma l-lum għandek ħafna sorsi, għandin barra, issa jew ħad ċetta li tibda taqra u tifhem. Jew kellha ħad iqpa tisma' biss niepen antiki li dejjem
u qishom hemm investiment li daw il-niepen antiki jirbu bjaw fil-social media u żaret jerġgħu jisimgħu.
Iva, niepen antiki, inti taf x'inhija r-reperkussjoni tagħhom, waqt li ampina ġdida ma tafx reperkussjoni ġdida. Jekk inżommu dik bħala mod bażiku ta' kif nifhmu, diġà tinduna li inti kull change ġib l-stressers tagħha.
The fear of the unknown, diġa biss, u hija normali li tkun beżan.
Eżatt, immaġa, the fear of the unknown fuq eżempju stupidu li ġibtina stess, tas sewqan. Sammaġa l-mara tkun ta' fissuq iktar mill-raġel.
X'sa jiġri?
X'biża.
Taqbiżni minn fit-traffiku.
Immaġa li tkun il-manager ta' household.
Kif ħatir kibni jekk tilbes il-qalziet. Aleksandar, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna go back to your question is about the involving of men. There is it's not the first. We are not a first sort of generation. It's not a new thing that men have been trying to get themselves involved in in these gender issues. And I mean, if you look historically in
allies, men helping out
as allies, like
have always been
during in Metropolitan Police in UK during the those 3-4 years of suffragettes going on the streets and what have you, made around 1,500 arrests. And 100 of them were arrests of men.
There you go.
That walked the walk with women for equality. And in late 60s, like that was where men actually came in really strongly, is when the first safe houses were opened by feminist organization, where women for the first time had where to go.
If they were in a violent
relationship. And basically they created these helplines as well, first phone lines where women could call. So what was happening is that the perpetrators, the angry men, would call these lines and try to hog the line, and they would shout at because their wives left them and things like that. And the feminists realized they had men in their organizations and they said, listen, we have these angry men calling. Why don't you be there? And if a man calls, you answer.
Yes,
and that's man to man. Man to man. That's how it started. And right now, that was basically, and that continued. And I can tell you right now, and I just came back from Rwanda, where we had a global meeting of Men Engage Global Alliance, which is an alliance of around 1,400 NGOs from all corners of the world.
Wow.
Which involved organizations that work with men in some way.
Amazing.
So we have organizations that work with perpetrators, which are specifically the men who want, were perpetrators that they want to change. We have NGOs, which is like ours, Men Against Violence, which works with teenagers and young men on prevention, on gender equality and things like that. We have NGOs that work with LGBTIQ issues and things like that. We have NGOs that are specifically deal with parenting and engaging men as more active fathers in fatherhood.
Yes.
We have that is a big thing. This is a very big thing, and we worked on it as well in our capacity here. We have something that, for instance, that we don't have here. There are NGOs that are specifically working with young fathers. So we talk about problem of teen pregnancies, teen mothers, and there are some services in Malta for them, but there is this thing that these boys are forgotten. because sometimes the adults are fathers, fine, that's a problem. But sometimes no. Sometimes there are these teen boys who also need support.
Of course.
So we have NGOs who are specifically working in these kind of things, and spread all over the world on sexual and reproductive health and right, teaching boys about healthy relationship, about protecting oneself and things like that.
They need guidance.
And there is there is a stuff that boys need too, and it's lacking. It's lacking because traditionally, again, women organize themselves. They get where there were gaps in what is needed. NGOs and women organizations provided that much as they can. But men, no, they never got organized. They never, those gaps exist even in our society.
Of course, and especially because patriarchy expected them to deal with it.
Yes, on their own, without
support, no emotional anything.
Exactly.
And that is
it's assumed, and that is what is costly. For mental health, for physical health, we can talk about it for hours.
Forever, yes, and that's why we'll do this as another program.
U la semmejni ġviri Alex semma l-kelma patriarkil, sewa, il-patriarkat. Din hija xi ħaġa li biex tifhimha, waħda mill-affarijiet li taċċetta li qiegħda fina kollha.
Ekku, tibda bli taċċetta.
Tibda minn hemmhekk. Ġviri kull raġel, kull mara li
patriarka m'għandix ġeneru, mara u raġel jista' jkunu patriarkali.
Imma bil-mod kif kultant ikun forsi nitkellmu fuq iktar quddiem iktar negattiv. Daka l-influss tiegħu qiegħed fuqna kollha.
Da żgur.
U dan ġej minn ħafna elementi, ġifieri elementi li l-ommana ħafna. Fosthom, pereżempju, sekli anka kultura, reliġjon bħal l-Abrahamic religions kollha, pereżempju kollha għandhom dak l-element patriarkali qawwi li għadu b'xi mod instilled fina. Issa allura x'jiġri meta ħafna drabet ngħidu hemm dawk li rġiel ma jridux jisimgħu iktar, għax ma jridux jisimgħu mill-mara. Però there are bridging situations bħal l-NGO tagħna, bħal NGOs oħrajn li semma Alex, illi dawna b'xi mod jew ieħor ġa semgħu mill-bżonnijiet tal-mara, mill-bżonnijiet tagħna. U issa tista' tisma' minn għandna mela. Jekk ma tix tisma'.
U il-sabiħ tal-NGO il-volontarjat huwa li qed jara gap fil-bżonnijiet li mhux qed jintlaħqu u intom tidħlu blodot tar-riċerka tagħkom tal-kollaborazzjonijiet mad-dinja kollha u toffru da servizz. Ħankompli għax il-ħin kontrija, nixtieq intikom ma nafx kemm il-programm għax vera importanti. Kull meta jitqajmu daw l-idejat dwar ir-ruoli tas-sessi, dwar il-prevenzjoni tal-vjolenza, ikun hemm reazzjoni bil-kontra. Bil-Ingliż ngħidula backlash, dawk li ma jridux li ikun hemm da diskors, laqas biss jibda d-diskors. Ovvjament f'ċertu parti ta' soċjetà mhux qed ngħid kulħadd. X'tip ta' reżistenza tiltaqgħu magħhom intom u kif tirrispondu għalija forsi bitħassi b'mod kostruttiv li intom issibu s-saħħa biex tagħmlu l-counter argument bl-Ingliż.
Għafet jidħol backlash ħanħalli iktar fidej Alex.
Fimtek.
Però parti minna inħoss li hija din il-biża tal-bidla mill-ewwel.
Fear of the unknown.
Eżatt. Allora hemmhekk qasbis tittini ċans niftħu bil-ġdid. Isa tibda dejjem minn hemmhekk. Ġifieri din narawha kemm jekkux fl-immigrazzjoni pereżempju, jekkux fuq
kull bidla tbeżżana.
Kull bidla li ma nafu xejn biżejjed fuqha, kważi aħjar ma ntikx ċans titkellem fuqha. Li fil-verità mbagħad xi tkun qed tagħmel huwa qed tkabbar ħafna iktar il-problema. L-affarijiet għadhom għaddejjin, il-kurrenti għadhom għaddejjin minn taħt.
Mhux hekk.
Sewwa, ġifieri bla marrit ġa qed nagħti s-soluzzjoni, Alex ħajad iktar, li parti minnha hija dergejn il-komunikazzjoni, l-informazzjoni li toħroġ hemm barra. Waħda mill-privileġġi ta' dan id-diċenji li qed ngħixu fihom huwa l-fatt li għandna l-internet. Ġifieri jekk jiena ktibt xi ħaġa u postjajta hemm barra, jaf xi darba saba xi ħadd ieħor u użalik l-informazzjoni.
Proset.
Il-komunikazzjoni, l-informazzjoni toħroġ hemm barra. Min għandu xi jgħid in favor jitkellem iktar milli ġast iġobbu.
Iva, li nibqgħu passivi u ndaħlu rasna ġorramel u naħsbu li ma ħajġri xejn. Ħan iggravaw is-sitwazzjoni. Alex.
Backlash is my favorite topic. Okay.
I hope you saw what.
Le.
So not to overtake the rest of this program. Okay. First of all, this is not happening like only in Malta or only in a particular place. There is a global backlash to gender equality. Okay, and it's been happening now explicitly. I personally have been following what's going on for around 10-15 years now, and there is a backlash to gender equality, as I said, because there are political reasons for that some politicians actually, there is this confusion and these insecurities that men are feeling.
They are using it.
And there are politicians around the world that are using these insecurities and trying to point the blame, at women, point the blame at, immigration, point the blame at
LGBTIQ, yes, everybody.
Everybody else is at fault, not them. And it's a very easy narrative. Very easy to tell you, look, you did nothing wrong. They're taking these away from you, okay, and it's all their fault. And this is where my biggest worry is that this is the message that these influencers, these very well-funded foreign organizations are pushing these narrative for, as I said, political reasons. And it's a very easy to digest narrative. Okay, you are a victim. This has been done to you. And there are a lot of young men that are buying into it because it's easy to accept. Because, as I said before, figuring out your position in society, who you are, and with all these changes, takes some effort. It's complex. There are many issues.
So how do you counter this? The time has flown.
Yes.
Briefly.
Well, we, as I said, Men Engage organizations all over the world, we are coming together. We are coming up with different forms of resistance to backlash, which involves men. A lot of it involves working with young men and boys, on the ground, discussing things that are affecting them, listening, giving them space where to speak.
Of course.
Safer space, because that's one of the things that, men traditionally don't have. Men don't talk about their problems. They bottle it in, and we need that. And James and we said we're going to announce that we are planning something locally here where we will have these circles of men, creating safe spaces for them to discuss and talk about the things that are affecting them.
Amazing.
And so that's just one of them. There are others, obviously. You can work with, for instance, social media companies, try to get their algorithms not to drive boys towards misogynistic and content that is actually hurtful for them, and so on and so forth. Working politically, lobbying, there are many other stuff, getting engaged online, and so on and so forth.
I am so happy you are actually doing this work. Kif wetkom ħantikom programm ieħor għaliex naħseb li tistgħu taqblu miegħi eżis semmija għandna ħafna xi ngħidu, ma tantx għandna opportunitajiet li nisimgħu l-irġiel jitkellmu dwar il-bżonnijiet tagħhom, u bħala soċjetà naħseb investiment għaqli li nisimgħu l-irġiel u x'għandhom bżonn għaliex ħajgwadanja kulħadd. Grazzi ħafna James Buhagiar u Aleksandar Dimitrijević tal-li ġobkom tiġu, u ħatibqgħu wkoll ħalli nagħmlu programm ieħor u ħankun nistgħu nitalmu iktar. U grazzi eżis semmija tal-li segwejtu Ispirazzjoni u Esperimenti. Islim.
Ispirazzjoni u Esperimenti ma' Angel Gallia.